Information shared on the following program is for general information purposes only. It does not constitute legal, tax, investment, or other advice, nor is it intended to recommend any particular investments, products, or financial instruments. Always seek advice from your financial advisor, attorney, or accountant with regard to investment, legal, or tax questions.
Welcome to the only show in the country dedicated to helping savers worry less about money, the Worry-Free Retirement, with your host, retirement specialist and six-time author and fiduciary, Tony Walker.
Well, welcome, folks, to the Worry-Free Retirement. And yes, I'm that little man in the sweater vest, retirement planning specialist and full-time fiduciary, Tony Walker. And our focus today is this article. Actually, as we'll soon find out, there are more and more articles just like this one, reminding retirees that of all the worries one might have in planning for the maze of retirement decisions you'll be forced to make, the one decision everyone is forgetting about is what is going to happen to you and your money, not if something happens to your advisor, but when. And it's not just the fact that there will soon be a shortage of highly trained financial advisors to assist savers with their ongoing plans to remain worry-free in retirement. There is the real possibility that even if your advisor has no plans on retiring themselves, there is the possibility that the advisor in whom you have placed your trust and your money with could die, become disabled, injured in an accident, and yes, simply change firms and leave you and your account to fend for themselves. So the question we will answer today is this one. How does Tony Walker Financial currently address the issue that when something happens to Tony Walker, again, not if, but when something happens to me, what is going to happen to the clients and their plans who are promised a worry-free retirement after Tony's long gone? So if it has just dawned on you that your advisor has no business continuation plans in place to be there for you when they step out, or if you're that saver who is in the mind of shopping around for an advisor and you've never thought to ask them this question, what happens to me and my money and my plans for retirement when something happens to you? Well, stay tuned as we address this ongoing concern in the financial world that fewer and fewer advisors are entering the business and how we at Tony Walker Financial have got you covered. I'm Tony Walker, and this is the Worry-Free Retirement. We'll be right back.
This Tony Walker Financial Better Business Bureau review comes to us from Annie. True to their slogan, Tony Walker Financial really does take the worry out of retirement planning. More than that, they set the bar very high when it comes to customer service. From our first phone call and visit with Tony Walker Financial, we felt taken care of. Their competence and kindness shines through in every encounter. Tony Walker Financial truly embodies excellence, and other service organizations would do well to emulate the Tony Walker Financial approach. We have never been disappointed with Tony Walker Financial, as they continually exceed our expectations. We always leave their office feeling as if a weight has been lifted off of our shoulders. If you'd like to read more of our 5-star reviews, simply log on to TonyWalkerFinancial.com.
With the financial world facing a looming crisis and replacing the financial advisors who, for many reasons, are leaving the fold and thus leaving their clients left to wonder who will step into the picture to handle their retirement accounts, the question years ago tossed at me when doing educational seminars was this: Tony, what happens to me and my money when, not if, when something happens to you? It was then, and still is today, a great question, but not just to be asked of a little man in a sweater vest, but a question that should be front and center before ever investing a dime of your hard-earned retirement money with an advisor who cannot answer this question. With that said, I thought this would be a good time to bring into the studio one of those persons who is here to assist our clients both today and hopefully long after Tony Walker can no longer do so. That's right, folks, my very own favorite son-in-law and fiduciary, Mr. Trey Juergens. Hello, Trey.
Yeah, hello. Thanks for having me.
Well, thank you. And this is kind of a personal show between you and I because obviously you're my son-in-law. I offered you a gig here roughly, was that 8-9 years ago? How long has that been?
About 8 years ago.
Okay, so let's take us back a little bit and your past prior to joining Tony Walker Financial and the road I put you on in terms of the training and everything that went into our process here.
Yeah, so my background was kind of in marketing. That's kind of how I came on, helping with some projects and website and some different digital things. Very quickly learned the life insurance world, cut my teeth in life insurance, helping our clients with current policies, new policies, became registered in 2020. And then shortly after, worked on a lot of planning, new business, and just really learned by osmosis through the process. So it's been a great opportunity and really appreciate it.
Well, and you've done such a good job, and you're seeing more and more clients, and you're meeting a lot of people. A lot of times I'll meet them on the first appointment, but then you get to meet them if they're moving forward or have questions. And what are you seeing out there in the industry? If we can put that article back up, Aaron. I mean, this is a real problem. I mean, we've got people leaving in droves, people retiring, people dying. So coming into Tony Walker Financial, what are you seeing in the financial world out there? And our feedback we're getting from prospective clients who are kicking the tires here.
Yeah, well, it's kind of a sink or swim industry. And we're seeing a lot of advisors leaving. A lot of new advisors, rookie advisors, are leaving the industry within 5 years, most within the first 3 years. We're given the opportunity, having senior mentorship through you and learning through a process, our process. We're not under pressure to sell. Heather, Wes, and I are all salaried fiduciaries. We just get to give good advice based on the game plan we design for our clients. And we're not having to try to go pitch a bunch of products and go prospect new clients. We have the opportunity to just meet with our clients and really learn from our process.
And we've even talked about demographics in general. One of the problems, I think, you and I have discussed this in detail, with the baby boomers all retiring. And, let's face it, there's not as many young people as there used to be, this wave of future. So it stands to reason that a lot of advisors are falling into that baby boomer camp themselves. So they are retiring. They're passing away, the same problems our clients have. But speak to the idea of the young people trying to come into this industry. And it's kind of like the old guard. In fact, I think there's still some firms that hire people based on, hey, if you start here, you're going to have to bring families and friends along to do business with them. What's wrong with that process? Which that used to work maybe years ago, but today.
Yeah, I've had friends in the industry kind of have to go that route, and you're selling to friends and family. You're bringing your own prospects on board, and if you stick it out or not, those are clients of the firm. And if you don't hang around in the industry, they're going to appreciate your new leads and your family members. But without that senior guidance and mentorship and providing leads and clients to younger advisors, they're really not able to make it in the industry. So like you said, this whole retirement planning concept is really a generally new market. It's most people before 1978 didn't have to worry about managing a 401k or planning for retirement. It was all really done for them. So this wave of baby boomers, including those advisors that are retiring, are kind of leaving a hole. In some articles, 110,000 advisors they think we're going to be short in about 10 years.
110,000. That's unbelievable. Well, I know you've made some notes here and some different articles in no particular order, but pick a few things here that kind of relate to this topic of what's going on.
So to that point we just spoke on, over the next decade, approximately 109,000 advisors plan to retire. That's accounting for 37.5% of the industry's headcount and about 42% of total assets. That's a lot of money.
Well, if I can piggyback on that, another point you found out here is, for instance, now them piggybacking on the fact, we're looking forward here, folks, but all these advisors are now retired. It says more than half of investors, this is currently age 55 to 65, spend 0% of their time doing any kind of retirement planning. So you got all those people going it alone, even if they want to find an advisor, which we're seeing that, well, eventually there's going to be fewer and fewer advisors to go find.
No, it's exactly right.
So I guess there's 6 things we picked up on. We could go on forever. Let me just read these off, Trey, and you can give me some feedback. But number 1, the average age of advisor. Obviously, it's going up. It's not being replaced. Why are younger advisors not entering the field? Do you have a take on that? Because obviously there's opportunity. Why are they not entering the field?
Well, it's kind of twofold. They are entering the field, but they're not sticking it out.
I see.
I think
okay.
It is an attractive industry to get into. If you're a people person, if you understand money, you can do it. But if you don't have the guidance and the help, you're not going to hang around long.
Good point. Death. I'm going to do a segment on this. We've had more and more people come into us had great advisors. They love their advisors. The advisors die. There's no business continuation plan. So death is a big one. Disability. Someone came in the other day, and I think I know this advisor very, very briefly. I know him, but he's been in an accident. So I think things are kind of not getting done at his firm because he was such the lead man, and there's no process there. They retire. We've talked about that. And then let's conclude with this. They just simply change firms. What happens when somebody leaves a firm, they go to another firm, and then that person's left at a firm with maybe no advisor or an advisor they don't know well?
Well, you just get sick of the revolving door. We talked about it earlier. When you go in and you see somebody new every single time, you're either going to be pitched a new product or given different advice or have no idea what you're even talking about. It gets pretty frustrating.
Yeah, we'll conclude with this. A gentleman called the other day and he said, I've been with this firm 10 years. It's always a revolving door. I finally found somebody I liked. I called the other day with a question. He's already gone. So we like the non-revolving door here. I appreciate you and Wes and Heather and all you do. And we're going to keep working hard to make sure that business continuation plan is in place. So thank you, Trey.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Folks, we'll be right back.
Tired of the roller coaster ride of the stock market? Let Tony Walker show you how to smooth out the ride with your money. Log on to TonyWalkerFinancial.com and let's get started.
Heather, back in the day, I used to do all those workshops. I probably had 3 or 4 months. Remember those days?
Oh, yeah.
And it never failed. And now this was years ago, but it never failed. I'd open up the floor to questions and people would ask a lot of questions. And inevitably, I sometimes thought it was a competitor out there, but inevitably somebody would go, hey, Tony, I got a question. What happens to Tony Walker Financial when, I like that, they didn't say if, when something happens to you? And admittedly, 10, 15 years ago, that could have been a problem. Thank the Lord I'm here, but speak to the fact of the strides we've taken now that we're in 2024. So when something happens to Tony Walker, in your opinion, what's going to happen to Tony Walker Financial?
Well, one, hate for anything to happen to Tony Walker. But no, we do have a business continuation plan in place. And so you've been very conscious of that question. I mean, I think that question has followed you around for quite some time. But we have, 3 other advisors in the firm. We also have, like you said, a plan in place to have that continue on, hopefully seamlessly. And we've been very strategic in hiring staff that know what they're doing, a younger staff, just so that we've got that continuity in place.
Yeah, I was reading an article, and I think I've shared this on the TV show, but what a lot of people I don't think are thinking about, since retirement planning per se is such a new field, you're going to need an advisor that knows you and understands the game plan for maybe not just 5 or 10 years. It could be 15, 20, 30 years. A lot of advisors are set to retire in the next 10 years. Other advisors will pass away, change firms. So again, speak to the importance of finding an advisor that you feel is going to be around that's local to service your needs long into the future.
Well, one thing you mentioned is having a game plan. I think a lot of advisors don't even have that. They'll pitch you some products and say that, hey, this is a good fit for you. But if they were to exit either by retirement or changing firms, which happens quite a bit, you're kind of left holding the bag and not knowing how to use it. The benefit of our game plan is that any of the advisors in the firm can pick up where we've left off and know exactly why we purchased those products, what they're used for, and how you're going to utilize them in retirement. And so with us being very intentional about continuing Tony Walker Financial, they have the roadmap to carry on through your retirement plan.
Once a year, the entire staff at Tony Walker Financial meets for a full day and a half of fun, food, frolics, and yes, a serious discussion of what we did well for our clients the previous year and how we are going to improve our services for those same clients in the coming year. To kick off our year-end retreat, I decided for some reason to treat the entire staff to a couple of hours of bowling, complete with these cool Fred Flintstone bowling shirts. During our staff retreat, just to be sure we kept our focus on how best to serve savers, I covered the common attributes of the saver client we serve and what makes them tick and appreciate the services offered by Tony Walker Financial. As I read off and explain these attributes, see if these are a good fit for you as well. Number 1, The most worry-free clients we serve are the client savers who come to us because they are simply in need of help. Basically, what they're saying is they don't understand money, and more specifically, how the money will work for them in retirement, such as how to reduce taxes, various income needs, emergencies, and eventually how they're going to leave all this money to loved ones at death. They know we know how to do this through our written game plan and our 5-step process. The number 2 attribute of most savers is they want to be worry-free, and to do so relies on being trustful of others. In other words, savers are trusting people until you break that trust, and then they are not. And being in this business for 40 years and in working personally with over 3,500 customers, I can tell you the main theme of all that we do at Tony Walker Financial revolves around trust. It's about trust, especially when dealing with someone's life savings, and we value and appreciate that trust. Number 3, while some savers might admit to not being planners, they do appreciate having a plan. Problem is, they don't know how to plan for retirement because it's a new venture. And unfortunately, most in the financial world don't understand planning either. That's because retirement planning is a very new field to most advisors in the financial world. And while I began specializing in planning more than 20 years ago, that's not the case with many. And the reason you're hearing more and more people talk about retirement planning is, of course, you got over 11,000 people turning 65 each and every day. But again, just because someone calls himself a retirement planner doesn't mean they have the experience nor understand the art of retirement planning. Number 4, savers and sometimes even investors, as they get a little older and into retirement, have sometimes little or no interest in continuing to try to manage their own finances, even if they're capable of doing so. That is because they just kind of get tired of doing it, or they worry that as they get older and maybe not able to handle finances or pass away, that their loved ones, especially their spouse or partner, if that person that handles the finances passes away, are not going to understand what to do with the money. In fact, at Tony Walker Financial, last year alone, we had over 65 death claims, so we are well equipped to help those folks who lose loved ones so that the person that remains is able to continue to be worry-free in retirement. The next attribute of savers is the worry that comes along with dealing with something I call the dreaded tax tumor. That's the amount of money, folks, that is still buried inside your 401k, 403b, IRA, whatever it is pre-tax. And folks, the IRS is sitting there licking their chops waiting to get it. Problem is, many people don't have a plan to deal with their tax tumor. That's why at Tony Walker Financial, we have 2 full-time people on staff who are tax certified, and their role is not to fill out your tax returns. We don't do that. Their role is to help you plan to mitigate or minimize that tax tumor. So if any of these attributes sound like you, let's talk. And we've made this so easy to do, we call it the free 10-minute fiduciary phone call where you and I will talk by phone, and if it merits, we're going to meet in person to go through a complete analysis of your situation and provide you a free second opinion. So to take advantage of that, log on to TonyWalkerFinancial.com. That's TonyWalkerFinancial.com. Click on that Let's Get Started, or if you like, call us anytime at 877-499-9255. We'll be right back.
Hi, this is Lisa with today's most common Social Security question. Can I withdraw my Social Security retirement claim and reapply later? If you change your mind about receiving benefits, you may be able to withdraw your Social Security claim if it has been less than 12 months since you were first entitled to benefits. To withdraw your claim, you must meet all the requirements, including requesting in writing and repaying all the benefits that you have received. If you withdraw your claim, you may reapply at a future date. But keep in mind, you can only cancel your benefits and reapply one time.
Wondering how much money you'll need to retire? Probably a lot less than you think. I'm retirement specialist Tony Walker, and for over 40 years, I've helped thousands of savers determine when to retire and how much money they'll need in retirement, and I can help you too. To see if you can retire now, take advantage of our free 10-minute fiduciary phone call with me, Tony Walker, by logging on to TonyWalkerFinancial.com or call 877-499-9255.
The individuals in this interview are uncompensated clients at the time of filming. Their opinions expressed were provided to Worry Free Productions for use as an advertisement by Tony Walker Financial. Please refer to Form CRS and Form ADV Part 2B Disclosure Brochure for information regarding the advisory services offered by Tony Walker Financial.
Our client spotlight today shines brightly on Mr. Doug Cox. And Mr. Cox, thank you so much for joining us today.
Well, thank you. It's good to be here.
Now, first of all, tell us a little bit about what you did. I know you've recently retired, but what you're doing now.
Well, I retired in May. I did machinist work for many years, and right now just enjoying retirement and the good life, and working with my brother in the horse racing business. And now with me having some free time and being retired, it works out well. It really does.
And if you could go back in time, how did you first learn about Tony Walker Financial?
Well, about 5 or 6 years ago, I was just watching on the weekends. I'd watch your broadcast, and the more I watched, the more I thought, this sounds really interesting. Like I'd like to hear more what y'all do, and from the saver's perspective of things, and that's what initiated my call to talk to you.
So really that idea, that message that we really don't like to take a lot of risk, we want to make sure our clients don't run out of money, that just resonated with you?
Yeah, fit me to a T, really. It really did, because I'm more into hanging on to what I got, and I'm not a big risk taker, gambler, that kind of thing, and it's worked out well.
What's it been like working with the staff here at Tony Walker Financial?
It's been great, because it's all, it's new territory to me, and I've been educated, I've found out a whole lot, and the complete staff, top to bottom, the crew in Bowling Green that you have, and here, it's just really been great.
Well, Mr. Cox, we appreciate your business, and thank you so much, and hopefully many years of service to come.
Oh, well, I hope so. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right.
Are you looking for an advisor you can trust? Then schedule your free phone call with Tony at TonyWalkerFinancial.com or call 877-499-9255.
Welcome back to the Worry-Free Retirement. Tony Walker here. And as we record today's show on February 18th, 2025, I'm going to divert my attention a little bit over to something that I think is really, really becoming compelling and also somewhat disturbing. You have to understand something, folks. In June of this year, I will have hit my 41st year in this business. And right after 9/11, when I really started focus on retirement planning, long before most advisors even understood what retirement planning was, I began this quest of trying to help savers worry less about money. And one of the worries I saw even back then was trying to determine how much money they would need to retire comfortably or worry-free in retirement. And folks, as we fast forward to 2025, it's gotten much worse. Let me explain. So just the other day, and this happens a lot, let me use an example. I'm going to really change up this case and change the names to protect the innocent, et cetera, et cetera. But this is the typical stuff I'm seeing. So hang in there and listen closely. Now, this could even be for somebody that's older who maybe has an adult child that's going through the same stresses and strains as this person I met the other day. So basically, I had a couple come in. They were both 56 years of age. She was already kind of semi-retired. He was still working full-time, making good money. And he immediately started off the conversation with, Tony, the reason we're here is I am stressed to the max. And I said, well, what do you mean? What are you stressed about? He said, work has gotten awful. And this might be you right now, and I'm not blaming all of, the world's forces out there, but ever since COVID, now this just might be in my imagination, there's been multiple buyouts, layoffs, mergers. There's a whole lot of activity going on. And not that all private equity firms are bad, but a lot of these private equity companies are buying businesses. In this case, several years ago, they bought a family business to which this man worked, and he talked about that. He said how different it has become since this big company has come in, and everything's about the bottom line, everything. And he talked about how the family business was so much more fun to work, much more flexible, and he said, I can't take it anymore. And I said, well, what's going on? And his wife interrupted, and she said, I'll tell you what's going on. He can't even sleep at night. He is so stressed and under so much pressure. So I asked him, the usual question I ask everybody is, I start off the conversation this way when I'm hearing about people that are either burned out or stressed out, why are you still there? And after a long pause, he said, well, I'm afraid to retire. And I said, well, it doesn't mean you're necessarily retiring, but I'm talking about that job. Why in the world would you still be there? And he said, well, obviously, I don't think I have enough money to leave, and I don't know what I would do. So I said, well, let's take a look at this. Now, folks, this is how I work. Again, I've met with nearly 20,000 people. We've orchestrated well over 5,000 game plans. All I do on a regular basis, I see 20 to 30 people a week. I look at their stuff and I analyze it, and I'm really, really good at this. I was talking to somebody the other day who was getting ready to have knee surgery, and I said, how many of those surgeries has your surgeon done? And they laughed, and he said, well, he claimed he's done 15,000. I said, that's pretty good. So you got to remember, folks, this is all I've done for years. I know what I'm looking for. I know how to analyze things, and I know how to cut to the chase. And the problem was that this gentleman actually had about $1 million. I mean, this couple had saved a lot of money. And he thought, this is what he was told anyway, when I said, hey, you got a lot of money here. And he said, well, I don't think I have enough. And I said, why? And I said, well, where are you getting this information from? And he thought he would need at least, he said, $2 million to retire. So my point was, wait a minute. So you're going to keep working at a job that's probably going to kill you because you think, you don't know this for sure, you've been told this, you think you need $2 million. And I said, why do you think you're thinking this? And he said, I guess I'm just listening to the wrong people. I don't know. What do you think? And I said, I think you can easily retire. Again, I've already looked at his expenses. They didn't have any debt. Obviously, I told him you might want to go to work part-time and do some things. But basically, on paper, I knew when I'd met them and looked at their initial situation, they could retire. So what I want to address with you folks is something I'm going to term stinking thinking. And where does this stinking thinking come from? Where in the world are you getting all this crazy information? Now, some people will need $2 million or more. Don't get me wrong. It's all depends on your situation. But many of you are not going to need all this money to retire. But I'll tell you where it's coming from. Listen closely. Here's where this stinking thinking is coming from. It's coming from a financial world who does not want you to use this money. It is that simple, folks. Again, we've talked about this on the show. It's a concept called OPM, or other people's money. We in the financial world don't do anything. We don't make any money. We don't manufacture anything. As I've said, we're basically fairly useless until you hand over your money to us. That's how we make money on your money. The question is, what are you getting in return for that? Now, the Live Well, Die Broke philosophy that I created is totally opposite of the financial world. Whereas the financial world says, let us hang on to your money, don't spend it, be fearful, save, 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 look out for inflation. In the meantime, they're making hand over fist money on your money. We're the opposite. We're like, stop a minute, think about where you are in life, think how many more good years you've really got to enjoy this money. In this case, if you're 55, assuming he's been worked to death, I found out his parents didn't live a long life, her parents didn't live a long life. I mean, they may have 10 good years left. Why in the world would you slave away at a job that's causing stress and is probably going to kill you? What you have to have is someone with a philosophy and a process that can take this amount of money you've got, listen, take this amount of money you've got, replace the paycheck you were used to receiving, and a firm that stands behind the game plan to analyze things, help you figure out how much money to take, where to take it from, make sure you keep risk to a minimum, make sure you have some of that beloved mailbox money in place, and make sure that that firm has a well-oiled machine, a process that can monitor your progress and keep you informed along the way. And maybe that's you right now. Maybe you're still working and you just really believe that you're like this fella, that you think you had to have $2 million, $3 million. It almost feels like a hopeless situation. Maybe you're in a job you hate, you're burned out, and you just are saying, Tony, is there any way I could retire? Or maybe phase into some other form of retirement or job that I could enjoy more and try to enjoy this money before it's too late. We have got you covered there. In fact, we created something called the free 10-minute fiduciary phone call. So what is the purpose of this phone call between you and I? The purpose of the phone call is to use my 40 years of experience to quickly see what's going on and to see if we might be of help to you. So let's say we have this phone call and I think I can help. The beauty of this is you're going to be meeting with the owner of the company. I'm going to be the one personally analyzing your entire situation. If I think I can help, I'm going to be the one laying out the game plan, and then our well-trained income planning department is going to take the time to put that data, that information into our proprietary software, and then we will present our findings to you. You'll be able to look at it, study it, see if it's what you want. But I think when you see this, as an engineer told me the other day, he said, man, this is a game changer. I've never seen anything like this. I think you're going to be impressed. So why don't you take advantage of that free phone call? Just log on to TonyWalkerFinancial.com, TonyWalkerFinancial.com. Click on that Let's Get Started. Let's schedule that call. Or, hey, if the internet's not your thing, no worries. You can call us 24/7. That number is 877-499-9999. 9255. Well, we hope you've enjoyed today's program. We'll look forward to seeing you next week on the Worry-Free Retirement. But you remember, between now and then, if all else fails, you be worry-free and you make it a good one.